There were 11,862 incidents reported to the FBI in 2023, the highest number of hate crime incidents recorded since the FBI began reporting the data in 1991. This is the third consecutive year that incidents have increased to an all-time high. Hello, my name is Jonah Dolinsky. Statistics like that led me to meet with religious leaders within my community of the North Suburban Chicagoland and discuss the biases that members of those religions face and their appreciation for the ongoing efforts to combat hate. I began my studies of this topic by opening up the internet browser. There were several eye-catching posts from sources that I had never heard of. I was tempted to read them, however, I limited my research to articles published by reputable sources. Even in those articles, I found that writers chose a particular outside perspective to frame the piece, so I decided to seek out first-hand information. To achieve this, I conducted interviews with a total of 20 religious leaders and lay people of the following faiths: atheism, Baha'i, Buddhism, Episcopal, Evangelical, Presbyterian, Humanism, Conservative and Orthodox Judaism, Catholicism, Scientology, and Sikhism. I asked each of those individuals the following questions. How do people perceive your religion? If you have experienced negative bias, how do you counter that? What is gratitude's role in countering bias? How do you work with your community to make a lasting impact? When asked how they perceived their faith, a vast majority of religious leaders I interviewed believed that the general public either had a positive view of the interviewee's religion or lacked an opinion about it. However, many leaders also noted that they have experienced and/or are aware of the negative bias towards their religion. For example, an Episcopal priest told me that his church received phone calls from individuals who disagreed with the church's ordaining of women and their support for the LGBTQ+ community, which are values that differ from many other Christian denominations. I learned from a member of the Baha'i faith that in Iran, Baha'is are persecuted and their religion is repressed. For leaders who stated they experienced or observed negative biases towards their religion, I asked them, how would they counter that bias? With respect to bias on social media, some leaders stated that there was too much for them to try and counteract, while others posted favorably about their religion in an attempt to counter that negative bias. With respect to negative biases expressed directly towards a leader or a member of a leader's faith, I asked them how they might in the future attempt to counteract that bias. The most promising response that I had heard was from Pavel Reutman, who in his role as a cantor co-leads services at a Jewish conservative synagogue. He discussed the concept of bridges. In this context, bridges means to build connections between faiths and communities for the purpose of fostering unity. This concept allows communities to take the strength of their faith and amplify it onto the broader community. Other leaders also describe building bridges, although not always using that specific term. For example, two church leaders described their religion's Bravers Angels program, which develops tools to build bridges between people divided over politics. Other leaders noted that they use social media to engage with local schools and create an inclusive environment at their institutions, all in an effort to raise positive awareness of their religion and dispel negative bias. In all of these forms of bridges, gratitude plays a crucial role. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines gratitude as the state of being grateful, where grateful means appreciative of benefits received, feelings or showing thanks. For example, bridges within a community, gratitude relates to an individual's feelings. For example, a leader may express her gratitude for congregants opening their eyes to the biases within their faith. In another case, the leader may encourage each member of their congregation to be grateful for having the opportunity to practice their faith. In contrast, the concept of mutual gratitude is central to the building of bridges between communities and reducing negative biases that may exist between them. Mutual gratitude means you acknowledge the biases that people outside of your religion hold towards your religion, but you still understand and are grateful for those individuals and their perspective. Participants in a bridge group become more familiar with one another's beliefs. Hopefully, this familiarity facilitates each participant's gratitude towards the adherence of another faith, resulting in reduced bias and perhaps lasting friendships. For example, several religious leaders I spoke with are a part of local interfaith groups where participants discuss biases that they and their fellow worshipers face. Sometimes those discussions lead to the leaders recognizing the similarities between their faith or their commonalities of the biases that they're each subject to, both of which increase mutual gratitude among the leaders. The bridge groups that strive for mutual gratitude do not need to solely be attended by religious leaders. For example, one leader I spoke with brings together choir members from different faiths to sing as a single group with the goal of promoting mutual gratitude and minimizing negative biases. I am grateful to have had the opportunity to speak with all of these outstanding religious leaders. We often take for granted the connections we have with one another, and this is also true for the different religious groups. As I learned, building positive connections can take some effort, but can have the benefit of reducing negative biases between the groups. Throughout your life and your career, you will interact and work with many people whose perspectives and ideals may not align with yours. In such cases, you should search for bridges with those individuals to foster community relations. I want to encourage you to be open to hearing their views, and while you do not have to change your mind, being receptive and respectful will help to build a strong community. Thank you.